Gallery horror story time. First off, I just want to preface, do not contact anybody. Don't send hate mail or threats to anybody. That is not the purpose of this video. It is more of a cautionary tale. I have two separate stories for you today, so let's get started. I don't want to say names or anything, but there's been a gallery in the LA area that is pretty well known that we've had recent issues with.
So they never really publicly mentioned anything that was off or wrong, or business wasn't going well. They did the show that I was part of and then never paid me, and then they proceed to go on and do normal everything, business as normal. Here's a new show, here's the theme, promoting, and it just looked like on their social media everything was fine. So I was not sure what was going on, just no money, knowing my stuff is being sold, people at convention telling me they bought my stuff in Chinatown, and we've had friends who had showed there, who has their work there, and these are really good friends, and so we had a really good first impression. The store itself was cute, so I applied to one of their show application thing. You can also do consignment here, where you can have your merch here and we'll sell it and we'll do a cut. And I was super excited. I packed up a bunch of stuff and I dropped it off. That was January. That was early January. So I think at some point I went to pick up my frame piece for the show. The frame pieces are only up for the duration of the exhibition, whereas the consignment pieces will be around for as long as they want, I guess. And the front desk person, who was the staff there, they told me, hey, your print sells really well. And I was like, that's interesting, because I have not received any money.
Did you just assume up until that point that you hadn't sold anything?
I should have seen a red flag that I didn't actually sign a contract, and they never actually given me monthly report on inventory, and if they had even if there's no sales, other gallery would give me a report of this product, this many left, this product, this many left.
Yeah, there's other galleries we're partnered with where you always get a monthly report of sales or inventory.
When the exhibition was over, so a few months after January, I believe I emailed them. I didn't directly be hey, where's my payment? I just wanted to be hey, how's stock? Do you need restock? And they were oh, it's okay, you don't have to restock us yet, we still have some left. But they have no mention of payout, and I was huh, that's weird. So I waited a little bit longer, and then I followed up, and I was hey, when should I expect a pay? And at that point they're oh, this weekend we'll pay you. The weekend came, nothing. It's just a repeat cycle of just I'll follow up, nothing comes of it. It was last week. I emailed them again, and at this point, this is August. They've had my stuff since January.
So 8 months.
8 months. I finally was oh my god, I completely forgot about this. Send them an email. They were oh, I'm so sorry, we'll pay you out this weekend. And I was another this weekend.
After missing they're supposed to be paying monthly, right? So that's 8 missed payments.
I was okay, I guess I'll wait over the weekend. It didn't come, nothing came of it. We went to pick up my stuff in person, and we met the owner because she laid off all her staff, because she said she just couldn't afford them anymore. Business was bad, which the economy was bad, we kind of get it, but it's just not cool to sell our stuff and not pay us our part at all.
It's kind of crazy to me that galleries won't prioritize their artists, because it immediately destroys their reputation. Even if business is so bad that you can't pay your rent, if I'm a gallery owner, I'm gonna pay my artists first, even if I lose my building, because then I can start that business again. I haven't destroyed my reputation to the thing that makes me money. So you and I felt we had to go down there to get your inventory because they hadn't paid us. So even though they said that they are going to pay you, I don't see how they're going to catch up on 8 months worth of payments to dozens of artists.
So after picking up my stuff, we count it, and it's around like $1,000 worth of merch that they owe me for my cut. That's not like a financial bank breaking amount, like we're not financially relying on it, but it's still a good amount of money.
Yeah, it's super cool that their commission is only 30%, but if they can't pay to keep the building running, then like why not just make your commission a more standard 50-50? Like it's so traditional for a gallery to run 50-50 rates that like nobody's gonna bat an eyelash at it, right? Like, because now your commission's 100% and you've destroyed your reputation. Yeah. And like the owner's also an artist, so it's like not only have they destroyed their reputation as a gallery, they're gonna destroy their reputation within the art community.
But it's just like the transparency was not there. No one know what's going on. Like it took me like continuously like, hey, what's going on? Cause like everything looks pretty normal on your social. Like, what's up? After 8 months of working with them, after many emails following up, they finally last week sent out a mass email explaining the situation better. Economy was bad, there's a lot of bills to pay, traffic was bad, this and that. Understandable. They said that here's the game plan. They're gonna pay out, but it's not chronological order. There has been no monthly report of what their sales are, how many they've sold of whatever. This email doesn't really equate to anything, I guess, because I don't even know what month I sell what and what I should be expecting, and if they're not paying in chronological order, like, I don't know. This email's saying nothing.
I know a ton of artists who, like, that's their whole thing, is they just partner with a bunch of galleries and that's how they make their living. Even if I give them the benefit of the doubt and say, like, yeah, this is a really shitty situation, it's such a poor business move. Your artist should always be your priority. That's the way you make your money. That's the way you pay those bills.
It's a shame. I think there's a lot of potential. Like, they were well known in the community. Like, it's in Chinatown. It's a really cute store. And I went to the premiere and a lot of people did come out for it, and it looks really cute. Like, there was a whole long line. I had to wait in line for a while. I don't know where it went wrong, but it's hard to come back from this.
Yeah, you had to pick up your inventory just to know what they had sold. Has it been going on only 8 months? Because you signed with them 8 months ago, and you never saw a paycheck, right? Not a single time.
$0.
So was this happening beforehand?
Talking to another friend, we now know, like, this has happened, like, a month before I signed with them.
It seems like they were well liked in the community. You know, I say, like, this isn't intentional, they're just in a bad situation. How long is, like, that a viable excuse before you become a sketchy gallery, right? Like, yeah, you started out with good intentions, and maybe you still even have them. But, like, at this point, like, you've evolved into sketchy business practices.
Yeah, one last thing I should mention is, like, their hours. Like, it's like 3 days out of the week, and it's like 11, or was it like 12 to 4 p.m.? It's like very short. I really have to check before I go because it's such a limited amount of time, and it's like Thursday to Sunday. As a normal visitor, like, I wouldn't have think of that. Like, you have to really go out of your way to be here, essentially, is what I'm saying.
I mean, I don't own, like, a storefront, right? So maybe I'm an idiot, but LA rent or, like, real estate is so expensive. And, like, you don't, like, if your store is open half the time, your rent isn't half the price. It's still, like, that's a fixed cost. If your business is doing so bad that you can't even cover minimum wage to, like, have somebody run the cashier or the cash register, like, there's some bigger problems than, like, business is bad. Like, I think there's just, like, poor management going on, right? Like, the math doesn't math there for me.
Pretend you're like a high society art type. Oh, I got this. I used to hang with an art crowd in the 70s.
Okay, Sang's too cool for us, so she had to go, and I'm gonna have a little extra story time for you. Now, I want to preface this by saying, you know, not all galleries are bad. I've actually had really great experiences with most galleries.
I'm going to invite you to a show.
Okay.
But first, allow me to destroy your gallery.
Oh.
Bullshit. Derivative.
Obviously, like, there's Gallery Nucleus here in LA that's really well known. Did a workshop there just the other week. It was really awesome. And then I'm partnered and have consignment with multiple other galleries around the country. And for the most part, they all go pretty well. However, my first year trying to be an independent artist on my own was back in 2014. It was definitely before I was ready. I would say that this is kind of one of my bigger failures as an artist. I ended up going back to school and retraining and doing a lot of other stuff after this, but essentially I worked primarily as an oil painter for all of my work. And I had done a couple exhibitions here or there alongside, a group of other artists. And my work was selling decently well. Again, these are originals, so it's not like I could pump them out really fast. I wasn't the fastest artist. And I ended up being approached by this rather well-known gallery at the time.
Ongo Goblogian, the art collector.
I was living in the Boston area, and the gallery was in Cape Cod, which is a touristy area in Massachusetts. My goal that first year was essentially to make my entire living, my rent, my bills, off of just my art alone. I idealized this in my head, and I was really pushing for it. I was avoiding any minimum wage jobs, as I had been working 2 or 3 at a time up until this point, just to survive, essentially. So when this gallery approached me, I immediately was like, yeah, absolutely. We signed a contract, and I sent them, I think it was 3 or 4 paintings. And these are original oil paintings, and some of them were quite large. And then I didn't hear back from them for a while. I just assumed that they didn't sell. They informed me that when they take on new artists, that oftentimes it takes a while to start selling their work as they're developing their customer base for different types of work. Me being really new to this, I was like, sure, yeah, makes sense. So a couple months pass, I don't hear anything from them. I start partnering with a couple other galleries, not as well-known ones, but my work was selling pretty well. And by pretty well, I mean, through the course of this year, I made in total $9,000 for the entire year. My rent was around $600. So if you do the math, we were living on the edge. It wasn't like anything crazy. That at the time was enough for me to live off of, sort of. Obviously not sustainable in the long run. That's where we were at. I think about 6 or 7 months had passed by the time some random woman ended up messaging me, I think it was on Instagram, sent me saying how much she had loved the painting that she had purchased of mine from this said gallery. And I was like, oh my God, that's so nice that you bought it. I'm really happy to hear that. Thinking that this had just happened. She says, yeah, I've had it sitting around for a couple months now. I just was able to get it framed. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Obviously, I didn't want to make this random woman who appreciated my art uncomfortable, so I didn't say anything. But I then went to message the gallery being like, hey, I heard that some of my art had sold. When should I expect to be paid for that? And they made similar claims. Yeah, we're really backed up. We'll get that to you soon. And I pushed them for kind of a while, being like, did everything sell? Did just this one sell? What's the situation? And they were very slow to respond to me. Over the course of the next 6 months, I learned that all of my art had sold rather quickly at this gallery, and that they owed me $2,000 or $3,000, which was a big chunk of my yearly income at this time. They had also requested for me to send more work. But they hadn't paid me yet. So obviously we had kind of a strongly worded back and forth. And this is a real shame, because if my work in fact did sell rather quickly, I would have painted more and sent them more, which would have made them more money and myself.
I mean, it's symbiotic. No?
Ultimately, I did end up getting paid about a year later. However, I only got paid about 70% of what I was owed. They ended up telling me that the customers negotiated the prices down and that my cut was accurate, but obviously the trust had been destroyed and I had no reason or way of knowing if that was accurate. What could have been a very fruitful partnership ended right then and there. What I later learned from an ex-professor of mine who also sold their work at this particular gallery is that it seemed like they were prioritizing payouts for the more well-known or veteran artists and ignoring the newer artists until they absolutely had to, if they paid them at all. Essentially, because I was not very well known, they felt that they could take advantage of the situation. Eventually, that professor confronted the gallery on my behalf. As they didn't want to lose him as a client, as his work was quite popular, they then rectified the situation, if not incredibly late. I've always looked back at galleries kind of poorly because of this interaction. I think it set a really bad precedent in my head. Although I was successful of not going homeless that year, it was not a sustainable income for the year, and I ended up then going back to multiple minimum wage jobs for the next couple of years because I felt like I kind of had failed in this situation. Now, this gallery and my work at the time was a little bit more fine arts focused, and I felt like the work I wanted to do never really matched that perfectly, so perhaps it was never a great fit to begin with. I've worked with a lot of different galleries since then, and the majority of my experiences have been good. But I guess I'm just trying to say, be careful when you partner with a gallery or a shop or anything that's going to carry your work and represent you. If I was being paid properly and this gallery was being transparent with me about, how popular my work was or wasn't, I think my career could have been accelerated a bit faster at the time. But then again, my art business today is much more focused on not having to rely on these third-party entities and just interacting directly with my customer base. So perhaps this bad experience helped push me to where I am today.
Of you just being like, I'm going to talk shit about galleries for at least 30 minutes. Hey, Babs, could you come on here and promote our gallery show now?
So me and Sang has shit on galleries for the last 30 minutes, so I thought this was a perfect time to bring you in.
Drawtober is teaming up with a band gallery this year for a group show that shares the same name as this year's theme, titled Monster... Don't look at me like this.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Give me a second. That shares the same name as Drawtober's theme this year, Monster Match. It's a celebration of all old school Halloween monsters and aesthetics. The show opens October 11th and runs through November 12th. It's going to be at a Ben Gallery's Golden Triangle location here in Denver, Colorado. And a lot of the artists are going to be there where you can meet and greet them. And here are more of the artists that have confirmed. And then you put...
Woo, galleries. Yeah. Woo. Yep.
Suck. Other galleries are bad. Ben's great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You guys could come to the gallery show, stay for the airport.